Hey there, it's political cartoonist Ted Rall coming to you from the left on Sunday, November 26th, talking about Israel and Gaza. So it's useful when you feel stumped to step back and ask yourself, what if I were coming to this person or situation or decision that I'm confused about fresh, without any precedents or historical baggage? Inertia is a powerful and insidious force. How many times, when you worked in an office or somewhere else, when you ask a coworker, why do you guys do something a certain way? Do you get the circular answer that, well, it's because we've always done it this way? Obviously, that's stupid. About that friend that you always had since you were both kids. Yeah, you've known each other for decades, but if you met that person now for the very first time, would you still want to hang out with them? What about your job? Maybe it was a great fit when you first took it, but if you went out into the workplace right now, let's say you got fired and you needed to, is your workplace where you are now still better than anything else that you could possibly get? If your answer is no, you're probably due for a rethink and probably due for a radical change. Similarly, America is long overdue for a rethink of its toxic relationship with Israel. We've been in very deep with Israel since its very creation. Supporting the creation of the Jewish state helped Harry Truman win a very close election in 1948. Israel was a bulwark against the Soviets in Egypt and Syria during the Cold War. But we're not afraid of the communists anymore. And Israel isn't even pretending to be a democracy in any way, shape, or form. I mean, hell, they literally arrest Israeli Jews for criticizing Israel and put them in jail. So why is the U.S. still hanging out with Israel? It's not like we're getting much out of this romance. We pay them $4 billion a year, even though they're living better than we are. They have national health care and subsidized college tuition. They don't have any oil. Every time they kill a Palestinian person, the bullet or the bomb is stamped Made in USA, which only makes us a target for Islamist terrorism. I mean, hell, Osama bin Laden's letter to America talked about that, and it was viral until very recently on the internet among younger people who were surprised that its message kind of made some sense. Our relationship with Israel is an alliance. It's not a marriage. We never promised for better or for worse. But even in a marriage, what happens if things really go crazy? I mean, you're allowed to run out the door if your partner is draining your bank account, ruining your reputation, dragging you into fights with the neighbors. And if the dude is turning violently insane, you really should get the hell out. Now, Israel's war in Gaza makes one thing really clear. Israel has totally lost its fucking mind. It's time to cut these assholes loose before they suck us down their maelstrom of madness. Now, according to military historians, the war Israel is currently fighting against the innocent civilian population of Gaza is being waged at a scale unheard of in human history. According to the New York Times, in an article that came out a couple of days ago, Israel has killed more people in Gaza over the past 2 months than have died in 2 years of fighting between Russia and Ukraine. And Gaza is tiny. It's 1,500th of the area in Ukraine that is currently the front lines of the war zone. So proportionately, what that means is that the intensity of the bombs that are being dropped by Israel on the Palestinians is literally 20,000 times higher than what's happening in Ukraine. Casualties are sky high and soaring because Israel, unlike the vast majority of combatants, refuses to open Gaza's borders in order to allow refugees to get out. Think about the Ukrainians who left Ukraine. Think about the Afghans who left Afghanistan. Gazans can't do that. Israel doesn't even allow boats to get out via the Mediterranean Sea. They have a naval blockade too. Also unique to Israel's uniquely, efficiently bloodthirsty assault, it's its subjugation of the population to both siege warfare and a bombing campaign at the same time, simultaneously denying food, water, fuel, and medical supplies to over 2 million people at the same time that they're bombing the shit out of them. Moreover, according to the New York Times, Israel is using nukes to kill flies. And that's really not an exaggeration. This is a quote from the Times article. Israel's liberal use of very large weapons in dense urban areas, including US-made 2,000-pound bombs that can flatten an apartment tower, is surprising, experts say. In fighting during the century, by contrast, US military officials often believed that the most common American aerial bomb, a 500-pound weapon, was far too large for most targets when battling the Islamic State in urban areas like Mosul, Iraq, and Raqqa, Syria. The standard bomb in the US arsenal is a 300-pound bomb. Now, a 2,000-pound bomb is a devastating weapon. Military experts say that the minimum safe distance away on the ground when one of those things detonates is over half a mile. A plane dropping a 2,000-pound bomb should fly at least 4,000 feet up in altitude, or it risks being damaged by flying debris from the resulting blast. Israel has dropped at least 20,000 of these fuckers on Gaza, each with a blast radius of a square mile. That's enough to flatten the entire territory of Gaza more than 100 times over. And they're not finished. They want to continue as soon as the current ceasefire is over in a few days. They are using extremely large weapons in extremely densely populated areas. Brian Katzner, he's a weapons investigator for Amnesty International and a former explosive ordnance disposal officer in the United States Air Force, told the Times. Israel, of course, has carried out numerous atrocities over the past 50 years, including a bombing campaign and ground invasion of Gaza back in 2014. The brutality and scale of this conflict, however, coupled with the racist and genocidal rhetoric of Israeli political and military leaders, is so extreme that it's no longer possible to ignore. Even the UN is disgusted. We have, in a few days in Gaza, thousands and thousands of people killed, which means there is also something clearly wrong in the way military operations are being done, Secretary General Antonio Guterres said. So are many others, including nations with close relations with Israel. These babies, these ladies, these old people are bombed and killed, so there is no reason for that and no legitimacy, adds French President Emmanuel Macron. Jordan, Bahrain, Chad, Turkey, Colombia, and Chile have all recalled their ambassadors from Israel in order to protest the ongoing bloodshed. South Africa, a longtime ally of Israel, dating back to when South Africa still had apartheid, has severed diplomatic ties with Israel. Israel has nearly exhausted the world's patience. The amount of time that it can continue to wage war against Gaza without becoming isolated as a pariah state is measured in months, maybe weeks. More embassy closings are coming. Sanctions will follow. The U.S. should prepare itself for the next step. We should cut Israel loose. This means cutting off military aid and logistical assistance, no more blank checks for its actions against Palestine. In just 2 months, American domestic public opinion has reversed itself, with a majority of young Americans now opposed to further assistance to Israel. Older voters can't be far behind. Getting back to the question I raised at the beginning, if we were considering the question now, free of the burden of history, not thinking about the origins of Israel and how it was a home for people who had survived the Holocaust, starting from scratch, would we embrace this Israel as it looks right now, as it's acting right now, what it's doing right now? Would we supply them with weapons with which to bomb Gaza? No fucking way. There's just no way. Now, we may or may not be able to stop Israel from its reckless and murderous carpet bombing of Gaza. We certainly don't have to be joined at the hip, though, as they commit war crimes. Our alliance with Israel has outlived its usefulness. I'm Ted Rall, coming to you from the left. Thanks for listening.